Welcome to Massive Passive Cash Flow, the podcast that guides professionals to financial prosperity. Join our community and let's start building your wealth. Here's your host, Gary Wilson.
Welcome back to the Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast. I'm Gary Wilson, your host, and I'm glad you're on again. So we appreciate you doing this. We got a great guest today, Stacy Conkey from beautiful Orlando, Florida. So Stacy, welcome aboard. I'm so glad you took the time to do this.
Thank you for having me, Gary. I appreciate it.
Yep, we're glad to do it. So we're all a lot alike here. We all like real estate investing. I do get involved with other things, the stock market and anything I can do to emphasize my entrepreneurial genes. But real estate's where it all started. So everybody listening, Stacy and Jen is serving another purpose at the moment, but we got the blonde. Blondes always have more fun. Of course, Jen would probably disagree with that, but we got Stacy, so we're in good shape, and we're going to talk about what Jen and Stacy do. All right, and we're also going to talk about how you can participate. So if you wouldn't mind, Stacy, go ahead and start us off, like kind of give us a brief story. How did you actually get to where you are now? How did you get to Orlando? How did you get to this crazy business? And then we can get into some examples and things,
Okay, so for me, my journey started in 2003, so it was 20 years ago. It was October of 2003, so it's literally
happy anniversary.
Yeah, and it started. The whole real estate investing journey started when I had gone to school. I got my degree in accounting, went and worked at Arthur Andersen, doing all the things you're supposed to do. Got my CPA license, went into regular business, corporate America, was working my way up the ladder. I was a controller for a public company, and I was working to get to CFO, and I was getting my MBA, and I had joined Toastmasters because I was deathly afraid of speaking back then. Obviously not so much anymore. And my the CEO of the company was, just observing the path I was on, and he could see that I was trying to improve myself. And he invited me to a Tony Robbins event, Unleash the Power Within. And he's like, I have an extra ticket. I'd love to. And I was like, that big guy, that motivational speaker with the big horse teeth. And I was super resistant. I had every excuse not to go. And he kept getting rid of the excuses. Yeah. And I went, and it was the single most important day or event of my whole life, because it was at that event. I didn't think there was anything wrong with the path I was on. I was very driven. I was moving up, but I got the message loud and clear when I was there that I was not on the right path for what my life was supposed to be. Now it didn't give me any answers on what I was supposed to do, but I knew I was not on the right path. And all I could do is I could look at Tony and be like, I'm supposed to do that, but I didn't know what that meant. And of course, me standing on stage, there's no way that was ever happening. So I couldn't make any sense of what my feeling was. I only left knowing I'm not on the right path. Okay. So that was a really big thing. So I think what that did is it started to open my mind as to, well, what else is there? What am I supposed to do? Because I've put in 10 years of education and climbing the corporate ladder to get here. I didn't want to throw 10 years away. So anyway, I started just exploring and read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That was probably a big start of it. And ended up going to some investor clubs. And so I just started learning about real estate investing. And I joined some seminar company and spent $40,000 and got an education, and it was total crap. I didn't know how to do anything. So when I was a new investor, I just bumped my head on everything, everything. I lost so much money in so many different ways. And I remember feeling very disenfranchised and very frustrated because I had spent so much money in my mind on the resources and the tools to make sure I could do it right. And it was so high level. There was no details in it. And, when you go to implement, the devil's in the details. You have to know that. So it just got bored of me way back then. It was in 2004. I was like, you know what, if I ever figured this out, and I was not convinced that I would, if I ever figure this out, I'm going to go back and teach people, because nobody should have to go through this, because most people will give up. There's no way people would take as many hits as I did and keep going. Yeah, I was meant to keep going, but and I just felt like people shouldn't give up on their dreams to do something. And if they have a better quality of instruction, education, coaching, whatever, they'll be successful and they won't quit. because they're actually getting success. So it was just born in me way back then, to help the next generation. I was even like that with accounting. I was like, I wanted to teach my accounts payable person all about debits and credits. So that's just the core of my personality. Whatever I learn, I want to go and like lift up other people by teaching them. And so real estate was, that was, I guess, the next thing. And fast forward 20 years, and you know, I focus all on multifamily now, but I've done every kind of real estate over the years. And I'm super. I like real estate. I love real estate. It's fun, and I'm passionate about helping people, you know, reach their goals, and that's what fuels me. But the real estate is fun and you make good money. So
Yeah.
as we all know, everyone here is interested in real estate.
Well, plus every property is different. Every property has its own, unique rewards and challenges, and surprises. So that's why I like it. Entrepreneurs, we like having something new every day to look at and to learn and do. So one thing you mentioned that really sticks out in my mind is multifamily. And same thing with me. And ironically, 2003, August 13th, 2003 is the day I retired from the corporate world, and been doing nothing but real estate ever since. And similar path, Tony Robbins and Robert Kiyosaki. Got to have dinner with Robert Kiyosaki one time, and spent the whole day with him in Lake Tahoe. And the good news is I learned what I was doing. I was on the right path. Like in terms of business, the structure, for example, real estate ended up being not the end game, but simply the foundation upon which I launched other business ventures. Right? It gave me the financial backing, the confidence, all the education you get from real estate investing are all the same skills and talents you need in building businesses. And that's what he advocates is it's not just real estate, guys. Buy and sell or build businesses, and that's exactly what I've done. But back to what was it? Would you say? Can you think of a trigger moment or a series of transactions that led you to multifamily? Like that was really the thing, because it happened to me too. And like I could go on and on, but I don't want to. People want to hear about you because they already heard from me.
Well, I
Yeah.
think it started with the book Cash Flow, and me just recognizing that was a thing, which I don't know how I'd done. I was 28 years old before I even had heard of that.
hmm
But as I was, learning about that, to me, I was like, it makes sense to have more doors under one roof. I was going to start small, so I started with buying duplexes, and I did everything I did remotely, because where I lived, you could not get a deal that would pencil for positive cash flow. So I started remotely. Right. And I think that the thing that got me into like getting into larger multifamily, not just 2 to 4. I did lots of 2 to 4 units, and then in 2004, I started a property management. I had moved to Detroit because there was a lot of good things going on in Detroit. They're going to have the 2006 Super Bowl, so there's a lot of money being infused into the economy. And I was like, you know what? I want to go be a part of it. So I went there, and at that point, I got several rentals, and I went and started a property management company because it was a need that was missing. And through my property management experience is where I started getting apartment experience, because I would have investors that would buy apartment buildings. They didn't know what they were doing. They would buy an apartment building and it was an absolute disaster. And then it was my job to figure out, how do I take this thing and get it operational and get it profitable? And by doing that, I learned I had to create systems. I had to create systems for everything. And I just kept perfecting and trying different things until I was like, okay, I got this down. And that was actually my introduction to apartments investing, was managing them. But I was actively investing also, just not in apartments. And then it was a natural progression.
Yeah. You know what? It's funny. You and I are definitely, we're probably related somewhere, because I did the exact same thing. I started a property management company. Yeah.
Oh,
And
wow.
what happened? Yeah. But what I found out was, man, it's another. So you open up that one door, and it's like 100 more doors open up. So I opened up the door to my property management business, started bringing in clients. And one thing I did, Stacey, is I ran my own properties through the property management company and paid like everybody. So I would get all the reporting, everything. And but what it did was it got me all the contact information for all the lenders, the attorneys, the other property managers, the contractors, the inspectors, the utility people, municipal people, had all their names and phone numbers and email addresses. And I'm thinking, this is like gold. I got all these other contacts I can deal with, not to mention all the other owners who are looking like me to buy and sell. So I fed them over to my brokerage company to create commission income for the agents on my brokerage team. And it's like I had this whole thing going. But the cool thing is meeting some of the other owners through my property management company. Some of them were like in their 70s and they were like starting to think, well, I want to start slowing down. I don't want to work anymore. I mean, their properties are paid off and they're still out there humping and pumping and hauling refrigerators upstairs and stuff. And I got to know them. In fact, I'll give you a real quick story and this we'll get back to it. So one night in my early days, I decided I'm going to go to the local apartment association dinner, right? I figured that's where I'm going to meet the people I need to know because I was just getting started. I walked in, of course, it's a packed room, and I saw this table with all the old guys. They were all, I could tell they were old because they all had gray hair, So I call it the old lines table. And I figure, well, they're not going to get up and walk around. They came there to sit there and eat and drink and share stories about their golfing game. So I sat there, one of the best things I ever did, man, because two or three of them took me under their wings. I ended up buying some of their properties, ended up helping them sell some of their properties through my brokers. And more importantly, one of them, Gerhard Flutfelder, really took me under his wing like I was his son and took me around and showed me what to do and how to do it, like hands on. I was like, you couldn't pay. College education is like 200,000 bucks. That education was worth $1 million. I paid more than that. So, in any case, let's go back to that. So, with property management, tell us a little bit more about that and how you benefited from it and what it did for you as far as expanding your field of vision.
That's a big question. That is a really good way to describe it too, expanding your
Yep.
field of vision. So when you're a real estate investor, first of all, it's lonely. It's lonely to be a real estate investor because you're at home and you're doing the business. It's not like you're going to an office with 50 other people. And so it can feel a little, a little isolating or a little isolated. Um, I lost my train of thought. Where am I going with this? Repeat the question
How
again.
property management helped you in
Okay,
your
expand my
yeah.
vision. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. So as I was investing, I could learn and grow from all of my transactions, but there's only so many transactions you can do. And I was doing a lot, for one person. But when I started doing property management, having to deal with other people's disasters, which they frequently were, because I was dealing with inexperienced investors buying things, it allowed me to learn at a very accelerated rate on properties more than just my own. And so it's almost like, back then I didn't have any kind of community of other investors or anyone to talk to or a coach or anything like that. So like to me, it was a huge benefit to get to be in an environment where I was talking to investors all the time and I was dealing with challenges and issues. And it just allowed me to grow and learn as a real estate investor. And I was able to take all of that experience and just continue to bring it to my deals. And I was way more knowledgeable on my deals because of everybody else's deals that I had been either hearing about or involved in. So it definitely expanded my field of vision. I never thought about it like that, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah. It's funny how when you look back on life or any part of life, like you can look back over the last 20 years and everything makes sense, how one thing led to the next. But if like me, when I was going through it, I didn't have any big plan like I'm going to start a property management company. I didn't have a plan like I'm going to start teaching agents how to work with investors all over the country. It just one thing led to the next. So what was the next thing? And really what I want to go to, if we can get to it, is um, what you're doing today, you and Jen, as far as it's like you're giving back, you're serving the community, you're helping other investors. I want to talk about that too. But what was after the property management? Like as you came back to Florida, and what was the next thing, the next step?
Well, this is a long time. I lived in Detroit at the time, so it was there, and then I moved back to California. I lived in California up until
Oh,
2 years ago. I only moved to Florida 2 years ago. Uh,
okay.
yeah, so that was kind of the path as far as that. As far as real estate, up until 2008, I was just actively investing. 2008 kind of put a stop to all of that. That was a painful time of life, as it was for many investors. And it took me a little while before I was emotionally and mentally ready to step back out there again, because I took some massive losses, and that was a hard thing in every way, financially, mentally. So I had to overcome a lot of my own mindset issues and mindset challenges and be willing to do the scary thing, which is get out there and invest again. But anyway, so it was a few years. Then I just started small. I was like, okay, I'll do a duplex, like, and I'll have it renovated, and then I'll refinance it. And so I started with that. And as soon as I got back into it, it was like riding a bike. I was like, oh my gosh. But I had wisdom from my previous massive failure that I was able to, I could only see it as a failure at the time. But until you're out of it, it's very difficult to see it as anything else. But when I went back and started investing again, I was in such a different place as far as what I knew. And my biggest lesson from 2008 was do not over leverage, because you don't have the ability to move or to make moves. And so as I entered the investing field again, I was very focused on making sure that I had, not low leverage, but I was not trying to maximize my loans, because I'm like, you never know. I didn't see 2008 coming. I was too green. I had no idea. And I just don't want to ever go through that again. So I just started with duplexes, and I was doing flips at the time, and I just got back into it. And I'm so addicted to real estate. As soon as you get me in a deal, I'm salivating for another deal. I love the game. It's fun. So once I got going, things started taking off pretty quickly, and then I moved into apartments, and that's and about 3.5 years ago is when we started the academy, and that was our opportunity to then bring other investors along on that journey, and to know what it's like to be afraid and do it anyway, because I was there in the beginning, and then I was there again after 2008.
Did you know that you can participate in class every Monday? We call it Monday Night Live, 7 p.m. Eastern, with me and dozens of other investor agents from around the country, in fact, the world. Every Monday, totally free. No selling, no recruiting, just straight up education on anything and everything in real estate. And we have a lot of good guests coming on once or twice a month, bringing in expertise on subjects like how to buy a house with crypto. Okay. How about them apples? What about AI? How's AI affecting our business? How about the metaverse, blockchain processing? We're already using it in title work. So come on to Monday Night Live, be ready to take notes and ask questions, because it's live and engaging, and you get to participate by asking questions and meeting others. So we'll see you there. Go to realestatewithgarywilson.com, click on the resource tab, drop down, and you'll see Monday Night Live. And in there, you can see one of the most recent classes. But more importantly, you can register for class as many as you want going up to like the end of the year, I believe. So in any case, do that. We'll see you on Monday Night Live. Look forward to meeting you in person. Take care. Yeah. Well, you know what? Yeah, I'm glad you stuck with it, because I know in those recession years, a lot of people got beat up pretty badly. I mean some people that everybody knows are worldwide names. I probably shouldn't mention names, but they're public about it. And I think it's a way to serve others, a way to give back when you can share your real life experience, whether it's good or bad, so people can learn from that. And that's the reward. Is when you're going through it, it's painful, but when you can look back and realize, look at all that happened as a result of that, and then the pain becomes a blessing. So I'm gathering at some point you started the academy, but I want to go back to when you were like Tony Robbins and all that, and you realize, hey, you know what, I should be doing that too. So when it comes to like you paid $40,000, I think you said, to learn how to do that. Did the same kind of thing. I paid people I paid a lot of people, and it was a lot more than $40,000. I mean, 100,000 here, 50,000 there, but I just kept plugging away because I didn't have any natural talent with that. I mean, I came from computer science. I wasn't supposed to stand up on a stage in front of a room full of people. But what happens is when you're speaking about something that you're passionate about, and you are clearly passionate about this, that energy comes out and just surpasses any other deficiency you might have as far as being a polished speaker. And the reality is that actually works better. Your natural you works way better than somebody that's been polished over a long period of time. So have you been able to use what you learned in the previous years in the academy? So tell us about the academy. And I want to see if you're able to use what you learned before finally with the academy, like the ability to teach people and serve others. Did that finally come through and pay dividends for you?
Back when I was like, if I ever figure this out, I'm going to go back and teach it. I started teaching like in 2006. for the company I got my education with. Ironically enough, because I was like, my goodness, they really need some better education. I'm very, very good at teaching. It's my superpower. I have the ability to take complex topics and break them down and make them very understandable. It's always been the case with everything. I love doing that. So I've been teaching from back in 2006 along the thing. When we started the academy, and I was doing like one-on-one trainings for like other training companies. And 4 years ago, Jen was like, you're doing all these one-on-ones and clearly you want to make an impact because that's really important to me, helping people change their lives, right? And she's like, what if we did a one-to-many model? And I was like, I don't know anything about that. So we joined a mastermind, to $30,000, but another $30,000 for the next year, and just learned how do you even start something where you can start to coach people? Like, how do I find them? How do they find me? And so all of that led to starting the academy. Without a doubt, every experience I've had in real estate investing, particularly the bad ones, is what prepared me to be able to teach at the cellular level, the A, B, C, D, E through Z of investing with every single detail. And I know what it is as I teach based on what I wish I would have had. I know that's how it comes out. Not everybody needs that level of detail, but I did. And so when the academy started, and I recorded all the courses, the 2 to 4 unit course, the apartment course. And when we started doing like group coaching, it's funny, it's kind of like you said, the field of vision. I realized then, like, the field of vision for me and for our other students was greatly expanded in that environment, which I was not expecting. And it's because, let's say I have 20 or 25 people on a Zoom call, and one person's asking a question about a conversation they had with someone, and they asked them a weird question and they didn't know how to answer. They felt really scared and whatever. And everybody can probably relate to what that's like. So we would coach them through that, and all the other people on the Zoom call would learn from their thing. So when we started it, and everybody was completely green at that point, all newbies, everyone was learning from everyone else's questions. And then we started getting people into deals, and then they had deal specific questions, and everybody benefited, so that when they were in a deal, they already knew the answers. They already knew how to do it because they had been there as part of the coaching. So that was a really big and exciting thing that I wasn't expecting. And then we ended up bringing in coaches that would work with our students when they're in their deals one-on-one. Because I just know that when I was new, I made a lot of mistakes that cost me a lot of money. And I'm glad I didn't quit, but I was like, I didn't have anybody to ask. I didn't have any community of people, a coach, a mentor, nothing. And I just had to figure it out. And most of the time I figured it out wrong the first time. And then, I would fix it and correct it. And eventually I created systems and processes so I could keep myself safe. But it was, it took a bit of a toll in the beginning. And I just don't want people to go through that. I don't want people to quit. So I don't want them to make mistakes. I want them to make money and be successful and feel good. And then at least everybody in our community, they are just like me. They are like, I'm going to lift up the next person. So as we have new people come into the academy, our centurions, which are our students who are in their 3rd or further year, our centurions are like taking them under their wing and encouraging them and helping them with contacts and things like that. So it's like this massive movement of paying it forward. And I feel like Jen and I have created a movement when it comes to helping people be successful, because then they're creating help for other people, and then those people are going to help other people, and it's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're teaching people now, the people come to see you in Orlando, and it's like a classroom setting, and then later on you do like individual one-on-one sessions, or tell us a little bit about the academy and how that operates, because everybody's looking right now, Stacy, they know the market's getting ready to shift and they want to be prepared. And I think what you guys do is incredibly valuable service for the community, investor community. So tell us about how do people engage with the academy, and what's that like,
Well, for starters, if you think like we started in like right before COVID. So if you think like we started right before COVID, and that actually worked out great for us because we were looking to do an online model. I had been traveling a lot doing one-on-one trainings, and I was just missing a lot with my kids and stuff. So everything was online, and everything is still online. So every week, everybody in the academy, not that everybody shows up every time, but everyone who comes into the academy, and we do a group call. And at this point, like so many people are in deals that most of the questions are about deals.
Okay.
But so we have a call on Tuesday, and then there's a call on Thursday that's just for the apartment students. And so they get that community. So not only are they getting instruction and they're learning from each other, they're networking. They do a little networking breakout. So they're getting to know each other. And that has really produced some, again, I was not envisioning this in the beginning, but that really created some amazing partnerships where they can grow together. And because sometimes people are afraid to do that first deal alone. And even though the other person's new too, they're both being coached, but it just feels more comfortable. And so they're a little bit more willing to take those steps because there's someone there doing it with them. So we just really facilitate them getting to know each other. And then every student in the academy also has a one-on-one coach, so that when they're in a deal and it's like a weird thing and they don't know what to do right now and they need something, then it's not during one of the calls. They have that help and those resources. So that's what the academy is. The in-person thing that came much later because COVID. So we did our first one in April of 2022, where we did a classroom style thing, and that was the most incredible fun experience, not only for Jen and I, but for our students, because it allowed them for the first time ever to all get together. They knew each other from Zoom. They had relationships with each other and friendships from the computer. That's one thing about COVID is we all learned you can connect with people on Zoom. And so for them to get together in person was like, it was magic. It was bliss. They were so excited. We were so excited. And it allowed us to realize that if we could offer that to them, a few times a year where they could come together, it just makes everybody stronger because they come and they bond. They get to know each other even more. It's not just the Zoom call. And so it's every single time we've gotten better and better and better. And, we'll teach some kind of advanced real estate concept, something that's not in the coursework. And we do tons of mindset stuff as Jen's an NLP Master Practitioner. So like we're doing at our next event where people are going to break a 40-pound arrow on their throat. And it is scary. The whole idea is you identify like, what is the thing that you think is impossible, but you want it, but you think it's impossible. So that arrow represents that. And she's certified. She walks them through a thing and they literally break the arrow at their throat. And we did this in May and we saw insane results from our students after that. And I know what it was is they were broken free from whatever those limiting beliefs were. So we've really taken an approach to teaching to be, it's not just the technicals. The technicals are actually like 20% of it. Mindset is really 80% of it. And so we do a huge mindset emphasis, and we would do like structured networking things. We would do photo scavenger hunts and do escape rooms and axe throwing. So we always do like in-person, like networking things to allow them just to spend more time getting to know each other and connecting. And so many joint venture partnerships end up coming out of that. And then they do the deals together and they all grow and scale together. It's awesome.
Yeah. What? So now understand you have an event called WowCon, 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 like EXPs, EXPCon, different cons. So is that where is that? When is it? Where is it? Tell us a little bit about that if you don't mind,
WowCon, actually, WowCon is a new name, but it stands for the Warriors of Wealth Conference. The Warriors of Wealth is the network. It's our students who are, it's the Remote Multifamily Investing Academy, and that's our front facing. But once people are on the inside, we call them Warriors of Wealth. They come in, they're gladiators. The next year they're emperor. Then the third year they're centurion. And the reality is this is not an easy business, and you have to fight. You have to fight sometimes your fear, your mindset to get up to a closing. Like there's all sorts of things. So it's almost like we embody, you're putting on your armor and you're going to battle for what you want or what you believe in. Anyway, so that's where Warriors of Wealth comes from. But WowCon was our previous quarterly intensives, which we've done every quarter since we started. That was just for students, and we're making it where it's our students and the public. This is the first time we've opened it up to the public.
Oh, okay.
And we talked to our students about it, is that something you want to do? And they were all for it because it allows them to build more relationships. So once a quarter, we get together in Orlando, Florida, and we hold these events. And it's just, it's training and it's resources. We have speakers come in from the outside just to be resources for our students. We do networking and fun events. We did Top Golf, in May. So it's things like that. But yeah, so this is in November. Will be the first time that we do a public event, but then we're just going to do it once a quarter and give people an opportunity to connect with our students. Some people will probably come and be like, I want to be a part of this, and then they'll enroll in the academy. Great. Either way, it gives people an opportunity to just really do some amazing networking. And it's not like 1,000 people. It's like 100 people. We'll grow it over time, maybe a couple hundred, but it's intended to be more intimate. So you can actually like, you're not trying to meet 40 people for a second. You want to have like 5 to 10 deep, solid relationships. And that's what everything that we do, that we structure that is intended to foster that. And I know from seeing the results that everybody scales faster as a result of doing that, of coming to those.
Well, I'll tell you what, so if I want to go to that, Florida is actually my state of residence, although I'm hardly ever there anymore. I'm actually up in Virginia right now, but is there a website, like, is it wowcon.com, or can we just Google Wowcon and
it's wowcon.com. So it's easy to find.
Well, I like the idea of inviting the outside world in, so they can see, because I can see it working. You have your folks there that you're already teaching, and you have guests coming in from the outside who don't know you yet. They may be familiar with you, but don't know you. And being able to sit next to people already working with you, I think is a genius. It helps them get past that fear. It's just the two things in life that mess people up are fear and greed. And fears, in the case of business, like in investing, means you don't always take advantage of opportunities you should because you let fear stop you, right? And greed is, you might be pushing too hard. You might, like you were talking about, going into too much debt, before the big recession. And don't beat yourself up too much, because a lot of people that struggled and got beat up, that was because we were taught to go into a lot of debt. It's expected to take a lot of debt when you invest in real estate. And I just happen to be fortunate because I had already been in it for a while and had a lot of equity. And the renters, for the most part, stick around. We didn't like lose people, and for the most part they were paying their rent. So it wasn't like our values had dropped like everybody's did. But and there were some other challenges, like me breaking my back, for example, in the middle of all that didn't help. But because we had the equity, we had liquidity, right? So in real estate, because you're expected to be in a lot of debt, it's actually better to have a balanced ratio. That's what we figured out. It was 2/3, 1/3. I didn't want to have more than 2/3 debt for all my holdings. 1/3 was actual. I could tap into it. So I had a line of credit, a commercial or business line of credit across my portfolio that I could draw from if I wanted to, or pay off if I wanted to. And thankfully I had that in time. If I didn't have that, who knows what would have happened, but we were lucky. So any case, back to the WildCon. November, is it what's the dates on that?
November is 3rd through 5th. It's actually sold out, our in-person. And we had to like pivot. We were not expecting to sell out. We had a limited space because we weren't planning on doing this when we booked our hotel space last year. Yeah. It was just going to be for the students, and we just anyway. So we had limited room. So we actually are already sold out. But we just opened up a virtual, so we're going to be doing it virtual. But
cool.
Starting in February, we have a much bigger space, so we will, be able to accommodate a lot more people. But yeah. So that one's wowcon.com/virtual, and we're only charging like $47. The thing is, it's not the content. The content is good. The content is great. People are going to learn a ton. But to me, the value of coming to WowCon is it's the interactions. And it's the networking. And since the people who are virtual will not get to be a part of that, I'm like, well, at least they can hear the content, they can learn the content, and they can kind of get an idea and see if maybe they want to come in February, when we will have the ability to, we could only fit 80 people this time, but in February we can go up to 200. We'll probably allow 100. We just want to go slow, make sure that we can grow organically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, I know we probably went a little bit long here, but I'm glad that we got together and had this interview. I really appreciate you taking the time to do it. And for everybody listening, please Google WildCon, and then if you're interested in the virtual part, WildCon/virtual. But I agree with Stacy, guys. There's nothing like when you have a gathering like that. It's the kind of thing you want to do in person, especially if it's over a 3-day period or like a weekend. because it's more fun because you can do stuff together. And we do 99% of our stuff's on Zoom and the phone call, and that's great. But at least once a year, twice a year, whatever. If you can do quarterly, that's even better. Um, take advantage of it. If you could, please leave a review on this podcast, guys. It's on 30 different channels, including the one you're listening to. We love your reviews. Subscribe to the podcast. That helps too. But but while you're online doing that, make sure you go visit, WowCon, right? /virtual, or just Google WowCon, right? And before you leave the internet, last thing you do is go to globalinvestoragent.com and find an agent who's trained to work with you. We train these agents, real estate agents, how to work with us investors. They're called certified investor agents. The only place you can get them, 37 states and a couple of Canadian provinces. You can find the agents that are trained to work with you on and off market deals. Okay. This is a big deal for us. And if you are an agent and you're wondering how to get more volume in your business, we know what it's like. Hey, we're in the business, man. We see 1.89 transactions per year now, according to NAR. You don't have to live that way. Work with investors. Ask Stacy. We never stop investing. We're always investing.
We buy over
4
and over
deals
and
on
over.
average a year. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, so Stacy, before we log off here, any final words of wisdom? By the way, and I appreciate you doing this. I know you guys are busy, and this was a real stretch to make it for me. And me and all the people that follow us, we appreciate you doing this.
It's my pleasure. If you say final piece of advice, I think if am I speaking to realtors or to investors with the advice?
I tell you right now, speak to the realtors because they're right now its volume is way down. It's crazy. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So I think so if you're working with investors, well, first of all, to me, if I was ever going to be an agent, I would absolutely do investors because they buy over and over and over, and so the lifetime value of that customer
yeah,
very high. I think, a lot of people are like nervous, afraid. Just stay in front of your investors, and look for opportunities, look for deals that you think are good, and just stay in front of them. Because one of the things that we do as investors, we work with we're in multiple markets. So we're working with multiple realtors. And I'll tell you, it's the ones that stay in front of me that I have the longest relationships with. Even if they didn't have a deal, if they were just checking in, that's what I would say. I said, stay in front of your investor clients. And also, if you're newer to working with investors, understand that investors look at everything just from the numbers. It's different than homeowners who are looking from emotion. And that may take a little bit of getting used to, but if you can wrap your mind around that, I feel like you can make so much more money working with investors because of the buying over and over and over.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, I could tell you stories, but so guys, you can, for the investors, go to globalinvestoragent.com, find yourself an agent. If you are an agent, go there and there's a button you can click on, says learn more. Just you'll have a conversation with me. And if it looks like it's a match, we'll show you it doesn't cost anything. We teach you, the terminology and the methodology. We teach you how to invest, flipping, buying, rentals, property management, wholesale, and we even do commercial. But the main thing is we connect you with people like Jen and Stacy. I mean, they got their own thing going on. They're good at it. My gosh, you can never learn too much. So join the community, learn how to expand your business and invest yourself while you're at it. So thanks again for listening. We appreciate you. God bless you and your families. And we will see you on the next Massive Passive podcast.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Massive Passive Cash Flow. Be sure to go to realestatewithgarywilson.com to join our community and start building wealth today.